Well, let's start with some international news first, where a Chinese man working with a shipping company in Pakistan was reportedly shot dead on Monday in what police have described as a targeted attack in Karachi. The man, identified as Chen Zhu, was in his car when he was attacked in an upmarket area of the port city of Karachi. Police have said that at least 10 shots were fired to the car and Chen suffered a single bullet wound to his head. US stocks sold off sharply on Monday, with the Dow Industrials falling back below 25,000 as a pullback from record highs deepened and investors grappled with rising bond yields and potentially firming inflation. All three major US indexes fell more than 1%, while the Dow and the S&P 500 dropped more than 2% late in the session. The Dow was down more than 1,000 points. The European Union's chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, has said on Monday that the time had come for Britain to make a choice on what sort of relationship that it wanted with the bloc after Brexit. Barnier said that he wanted the United Kingdom to clarify its position on what the future relationship would be like. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservatives and the centre-left Social Democrats plan to continue negotiations today as they struggle to reach an agreement on healthcare and labour reforms. The final hurdles to another grand coalition. Negotiators from both political blocs have agreed that more time was needed to reach a deal. The Russian Defense Ministry has named Major Roman Filippov as the pilot of the jet that was downed by Syrian rebels on Saturday and has said that he had been posthumously awarded the title of a hero of the Russian Federation. The Defense Ministry further said that the pilot had fought with the rebels on the ground and then blew himself up with a grenade when they got close to him. A Palestinian stabbed and killed an Israeli man on Monday in a Jewish settlement in the occupied West Bank. The incident occurred in Ariel, in one of the largest Israeli settlements in the territory. An army officer who spotted the assailant hit him with his vehicle, but the attacker managed to escape and troops have launched a search operation. Today marks the 60th anniversary of the Munich air disaster. On the 6th of February 1958, Manchester United's plane had crashed after attempting to take off from a slush-covered runway at the Munich-Rhein airport in Germany, known as West Germany at the time. The crash had resulted in 23 fatalities, including that of 8 players from the young team that was famously nicknamed Busby Babes, as well as journalists and supporters. The 21, however, had managed to survive the crash. 100 years after Britain's suffragette movement won the decades-long battle to give women the right to vote, their legacy and determination continues to inspire generations. The women's suffrage movement began in the mid-1800s and reached a milestone on the 6th of February in 1918, when Britain granted women the right to vote for the very first time. To vote, women had to be aged over 30 and meet a property qualification, and it wasn't until 1928 that all women had the same voting rights as men. The Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has met Italian Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni after a day at the Vatican and in Rome, which has included talks with the Pope and the Italian President. In the morning, the Turkish leader held talks with the Pope at the Vatican, which focused on Jerusalem and also the fallout from US President Donald Trump's controversial decision to recognize the Holy City as the capital of Israel. That was the first visit by a Turkish president to the Vatican in over 59 years. The first day of the Belgian trial of the prime surviving suspect in the Islamic State attacks in Paris that killed 130 people on Monday ended with no revelations. Salah Abdul Salam refused to stand or to answer questions as he went on trial for a shootout with the police in his native Brussels. The former USA gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar was sentenced to an additional 40 to 125 years in prison in a Michigan courtroom on Monday for having sexually abused young female gymnasts following an earlier sentence of up to 175 years last month. that the case against NASA has sparked various investigations into why the U.S. Olympic Committee, the sports governing body USA Gymnastics, and also the Michigan State University had failed to investigate complaints that had made against him in the past. The high-level officials at the USA Gymnastics and also Michigan State have resigned in recent weeks as the outrage over the scandal has intensified further. A year into the Trump administration, advocacy groups have said that there is a huge demand from educators looking to add media literacy skills to their school curriculum. This after the 2016 presidential election had exposed us to how the internet could actually spread propaganda and hoaxes at an alarming speed. At Wakefield High School in Arlington, Virginia, 12th grade students are using a digital curriculum called CheckLog, through which they are learning to differentiate between news and opinion and propaganda and satire. The First Lady Melania Trump joined her husband President Donald Trump on a trip to Ohio on Monday, where she visited Cincinnati Children's Hospital as a part of her focus on America's opioid crisis. She gave each child a Valentine's Day card with a small illustration of the White House and her signature. The White House has said that Ohio reported about 4,050 overdose deaths in 2016, which is the second highest overdose death rate after West Virginia. The Costa Ricans woke up to the news on Monday that the country was headed towards an April presidential election runoff. Former television anchor and evangelical singer Fabricio Alvarado Munez will face a center-left fiction writer in Costa Rica's second-round vote, definitively ending decades of a two-party system in the peaceful Central American nation. The Ecuadorians woke up to the news on Monday that they had voted to prevent presidents from holding more than 2 terms in office. This is a win for President Lenin Moreno that blocks his mentor-turned-adversary Rafael Correa from returning to power. The news led the headlines, with many local residents saying that the vote had actually gone pretty well. Lebanon's army fanned out across Al-Tabaneh neighborhood in the northern city of Tripoli after a raid on suspected Islamist militant hideout. A Lebanese soldier and a suspected militant died in the raid late on Sunday. The raid on a house in the Al-Tabaneh district had aimed to capture suspect Hajar al-Abdullah, but was met with resistance, including gunshots and also hand grenades. Now, Israel has begun giving African migrants 2 months to leave the country or risk a jail term. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government has started handing out 60-day notices on Sunday, offering them cash and also a ticket to a third country. It has also begun recruiting immigration agents to enforce the new policy. A Japanese Army Apache attack helicopter crashed in western Japan, killing one of the 2 people on board and sparking a fire in a residential area near a school and a nursery. The live images showed firefighters dousing a house as smoke billowed from its roof and windows. Former Catalan President Carles Puigdemont held talks with his party's leadership in Brussels, seeking to find a formula to retake his seat as president of the troubled region. This despite a Spanish court ban. Catalonia postponed the election of a new regional president last week until further notice, after Spain's highest court said that the sole nominee, Puigdemont, was ineligible while he remains a fugitive from justice in Belgium. Protesters under the banner Hands Off Zuma handed over a memorandum to the African National Congress on Monday, demanding President Jacob Zuma to remain in power until his term ends next year. The ANC Secretary General met with the pro-Zuma group Black First, Land First outside the party's headquarters, where he received their memorandum. The Kenyan police have fired tear gas to disperse a crowd of more than 100 demonstrators, demanding that the government should reopen 3 private television channels that had shut down last week over their coverage of the opposition. The 3 stations had been shut down after trying to live stream an event that was held by opposition leader Raila Odinga on the 30th of January, where he symbolically inaugurated himself as president in a direct challenge to Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. A prominent American investigator of the illegal ivory and rhino horn trade was found dead in his Nairobi home with a stab wound in his neck on Sunday. 75-year-old Esmond Bradley Martin had spent decades tracking the movement of animal products, mostly from Africa to markets in Asia. The reports also indicate that he was about to publish a report exposing how the ivory trade had shifted from China to neighboring countries. Now, dramatic drone footage shows a pile-up collision on the Interstate 44 near Marshfield in Missouri on Sunday. The aerial footage has been viewed over 1.5 million times in just under a day. The footage shows cars and trucks having slid off the snowy interstate as well as lodged on the road following the crash. Vice President Mike Pence and his wife Karen departed on Monday from Joint Base Andrews as they headed to South Korea, where they're expected to attend the opening ceremony for the Winter Olympics. Now, Pence is bringing a guest to counter what the US officials have described as North Korean propaganda at the Games. Now, Fred Warmbier, his presence is meant to remind the world of the atrocities that occurred in North Korea. German Winter Olympians on Monday finally boarded their Lufthansa flight to South Korea, determined not to let a doping scandal surrounding the Russian athletes and cold temperatures put them off. The meteorologists have forecast deep freeze temperatures in Pyeongchang, but all alpine skier Victoria Rebensberg and Laura Dalmeyer have said that they were not too worried and would concentrate on their events and take stock when they got there. It was a travelling day for the Olympic torch relay on Monday as the Olympic flame was carried along the South Korean coast at Samcheok. The flame was carried on a monorail train on a pedal railway truck and deep into a limestone cave system as well as along the road. Now, the relay is nearing its end as the Olympic Games will open at Pyeongchang on the 9th of February. The Philippines Public Attorney has said that it has confirmed one death from the controversial dengue vaccine from the French drug maker Sanofi Pasteur. Sanofi revealed in November that dengue vaccine, the world's first dengue vaccine, might increase the risk of severe disease in people who had never been exposed to the virus. The thousands in central and southern Bolivia were affected over the weekend by heavy flooding caused by ongoing rains in Tarija, located near the border with Argentina. Civil defense workers on Sunday delivered aid to flood victims and also helped some residents evacuate. In northern Potosi, residents also struggled to rescue the belongings from their homes. The mayor of Paris is about to clean up the city's streets, decrying the bad impression that cigarette butts, fast food wrappers and rats gave off one of the world's most visited cities. Now, Anne Hidalgo presented a series of measures to the city's council, including the mobile street cleaners and improved rubbish bins, but said that residents and citizens needed to take responsibility for their behavior, threatening them with massive fines. A dramatic gust of snow fell in central Paris on Monday, and though it did not settle, more has been forecast for today. Weather authority Meteo France has also issued safety warnings for residents. Flurries could be seen on the Champs-Élysées and around the French Parliament building on the banks of the river Seine as temperatures hovered near 0 degrees centigrade. A new axe-throwing club in Washington is inviting participants to relieve their stress by taking up a traditional Canadian pastime. The activity has become popular with divorce parties and people looking to blow off steam over work and politics. The company was started in Canada in 2014 but now boasts about 16 locations across North America. The first rehearsal for the year 2018 China Central Television Spring Festival Gala was conducted in Beijing on Monday. According to the director group, this year's gala will stress new trends, new spirit, new dreams to create a happy, jubilant and peaceful festive air. The main subjects of the gala include the Belt and Road construction, friendships between the Chinese and African people, and also the sibling affection that can never be severed between people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. The world's second oldest amusement park was lit up on to celebrate its 175th anniversary. The Tivoli Garden in Copenhagen is marking the special birthday with a gigantic Winter Lights Festival that is destined to brighten up the winter gloom. Amongst the highlights of the festival are a colossal Greenland igloo, an icy forest, and also an octagonal ice skating pavilion with 200,000 lights. The Joyce football fans burst into jubilation in gatherings on the streets of Philadelphia after the Philadelphia Eagles won their first Super Bowl. The videos uploaded to social media showed fans climbing up the street lamps and also riding on top of the cars in celebration of the historical victory. The Philadelphia Eagles' first Super Bowl victory set off rowdy celebrations as fans ignited fires, smashed windows and also toppled awnings. The debut of female giant panda at Tokyo Zoo just thrilled visitors, while 5 other adorable pandas seemed a bit jealous, vying for people's attention at Adventure World in Wakayama Prefecture of Japan, surrounded by trees in a half-reclusive environment on the seaside. The pandas can enjoy nature and also appreciate all 4 seasons with a climate similar to southwestern Chinese city of Chengdu. Right, let's now take a quick look at some news from the world of sports. And India's World Cup winners are back home in the country. The victorious India under-19s returned from their triumphant campaign in New Zealand this afternoon. The crowds thronged to the Chhatrapati Shivaji Airport in Mumbai as the Rahul Dravid coach side landed following their capture of the under-19 world title with victory over Australia in the final on Saturday. The title in New Zealand gave India their 4th under-19 World Cup, making them the most successful country in the tournament's history.